Hello, I'm Larry Elmore, and you're watching Why Games Matter. I think not only did it give more opportunity, I think for creative people itself, it just a lot more opportunity. I know even when D&D first came out, you had people that was learning to write. That all of a sudden liked to write. They found their love because just writing the scenarios for the setting, the game setting, they loved it and they got into it. Or some people got published authors by writing their adventures and playing D&D, and embellished it some here and made helped the storyline to make a nice book. And so people found their skills. There was people that helped them, people to write, and people had artists. You draw your own little characters. You're making maps. And so it inspired a lot of creativity, and not counting your own imagination when you're playing the games. And then as the industry grew, it opened the doors for many people, game designers, which is very creative, again, writers, again, artists, and then the computers even brought in more people. To a point right now, our industry is actually flooded, and when the industry is flooded, that means the prices go down. So for some of the artists and writers, the prices have gone down over the years. I know back in the late mid-90s, you was getting more for a cover painting then than you are now. Because then you were painting with a brush and doing it all mechanically by hand. And so even though there was a lot of competition, the people that really could do it really stood out. And now with aids of computers, you can take people that sort of are talented and they can do pretty good stuff with a computer. And so the whole level has jumped up several notches. Competition is stiffer and everything. So it's a good thing and a bad thing, but overall, the whole fantasy industry, from comics to movies, is just loaded in the last 20 years or so. I'm just glad I'm not trying to break in now. It would be very difficult. It's a different world. It's just you just be noticed. You got something that stands out, that gets their attention. I always told people, I said, your art will speak for you. It does, it always did, but back then it's like if you could draw or paint pretty good, it stood out, Now it's like they're bedazzled with all this stuff. I mean, if you're a pretty good artist and with computer effects, and you can have a piece of digital art that just blows your socks off, and you start seeing this stuff over and over. So the bar keeps being raised visually. Not that maybe everybody could do that with a brush and pencil, but the publishers doing the cover don't care as long as they got a digital file that blows people's socks off when they see the game or whatever product it is. That's what they want. So it's the bar is raised constantly. I don't know. We were talking to somebody yesterday. It's like they can't get much better. It's just got to be different. The quality is like perfection just about. So what are you going to do? It's going to be different. And that's the key. You don't know what the different is. I guess fads and styles will change. Well, it does, but you might see it more dramatically. I don't know. Let's see, you got 20 artists, all the same skill, and they're going to do 20 out, paint the same thing, 20 people paint the same thing. They'll all be different. It's each person. Now, if you give them all an airbrush to do it with, they'll look the same. You can't hardly tell who's who. If you give them a computer to do it with, a lot of them will look the same. You can't tell hardly who's who. Because the more you're removed from that actual piece, physical piece, like a computer and like an airbrush, I use an airbrush, it's a common denominator tool. In other words, it steps you away from that piece of art, that physical art. You're literally not even touching it. In a computer, it takes you away from it, and you're doing it in another form. It's harder to get your fingerprint back on it because another artist can use the same program. But when you're dealing with that art, physically touching it, doing it with paint or pencil, you're placing your thumbprint on that piece. And that's truly what they're looking for when they say different. They're looking for something different. And your thumbprint is what makes you different from the next person. So we gotta have the same skills, but the way you interpret that is what makes you you. Now, maybe I'm sure the computer art, digital art will get to the point where there'll be more tools so where you can put your thumbprint on it more easily. But right now, it is still a common denominator tool. And like a lot of people will scan a photograph and then they'll do a lot of enhancing things and stuff. And it comes out really pretty, but there's another guy that can do it too, exactly like you. So that's not your thumbprint anymore. But when you're doing it by hand, those imperfections and those things is what makes it you, you know. The computer can almost be too good, too perfect, too good. Right now I'm working on a job for TSR. They are re-releasing the old red basic D&D box with new rules and everything. Oh. And they're using that old painting, they said they do it for nostalgia purposes. And inside, I guess they'll have a module, you know, like the old one did, the game. And I'm doing a painting now for the cover of that. And I think they'll make a little poster. They'll release it all at Gen Con. So that's sort of fun. It's like almost like touching base with something you did 20-some years ago.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, here's a painting done like 1983 or something like that for the cover, and inside the module cover, whatever the rules book cover, whatever will be 2010. You know, like a lot of years between. Yeah, I give classes. I give usually a class in the spring, a drawing class, and a class in the fall, a painting class. I think every artist has basic things you need to know, and then there's problems every artist will go through in his career. Most schools that you go to, art school or universities, that teaches you art, especially if you were formally trained. In other words, you went to a state university and majored in art, which would be fine art training. They never teach you how to print. They don't teach you the problems you're going to run into. It's more or less experiment, do your thing, communicate with your art. So if it's stacking dirty BBs and building a philosophy about it, if that's your art, that's your art. It's accepted, you know. So when you get down to a real illustrator, you're trying to do a painting or something, you're not prepared. Even though you've got a degree in painting as your major area, you know, of concentration, and they want you to paint a crystal cave with water flowing through and snow out here, and a dragon's out front, and there's a table with crystal things on it or something. You got to know perspective. You got to know all this stuff. How are you going to paint it? How are you going to paint it? You're not prepared. So you start learning and you're doing your best. You're painting your butt off and trying to find reference. And so yes, as you go along, you're almost defeated because your lack of knowledge. So my thing is like, okay, we're painting with oils. Learn how to handle the paint. This is what it does. I want to show you a good, simple approach to painting. And I'm going to tell you all the problems I had, tried to figure out. I'm going to tell you how I do it. Perspective is something you need to know, you need to learn. And that's up to you. You need to learn perspective. You got everything you draw or paint that's realistic is in perspective. So you got to know it. You can't beat around the bush about it. You got to know it. Period. And after that, it's like I'm going to help you with problems I encountered. And I'll tell you anything you want, any questions you want to ask. Usually we'll have one day of just pure asking questions. How do you paint or draw chainmail? How do you draw water? How do you do that? I just show it. I just do it because I've had those same problems. The same problems. And so when they say you give away your secrets, no. The secret ingredient is always you. It's always you. all this stuff is just knowledge you need to learn, but how you use it, that's the secret. It's you. It's your fingerprint that goes in. Sign up on my mailing list on my website, and we send out a flyer. And usually we announce them in the winter when the classes.
Okay.
And usually I have a class or two in the spring, and at least one painting class in the fall, maybe two. Because this year it's getting more and more crowded, so I might have to start doing 2 classes.